What makes a person boring? Having zero interests outside of work. My dad used to always say this: if you're bored, you're boring. I used to hate it. But there's some truth that the people in this world who are interesting are people who can find wonder in any situation. Honestly, a lot of it comes down to storytelling. I remember listening to one of my cousins tell a story, and I realized it was super boring, but I was super interested. So I started paying attention to the way she tells stories. I like to think people are more interested in what I have to say now, but also I've had a pretty ducking crazy life so far, so there's a lot to talk about. When they don't ever do anything spontaneous, and act as if anything different/unique is weird and embarrassing. *, bore is someone who deprives you of solitude without providing you with company. * Oscar Wilde. About 50% of this thread is people that misunderstand what the word boring means, and comment on things that irritate them instead. People with no hobbies/skills. I remember always struggling to answer those questions: what are your hobbies? And in hindsight, I was just super dull and barely living. Close-mindedness. If you can't appreciate a different lifestyle, opinion, belief, etc., because yours is the right one, then I can't hold a conversation with you for more than 30 seconds. People whose only activity in life is smoking weed and drinking alcohol. Talking about smoking weed and drinking alcohol. Talking about how high or drunk they were, and wondering when the next time it is that they will smoke weed or drink alcohol, while also being very loud about all of it, in public, in front of anyone. I'm quite a boring person. I'm very talkative and have interests and hobbies that most other people don't have or can't relate with. So when I talk about them and in my mind I'm being very passionate, the other person listening is getting bored to death. Especially because I'm very old school, so most people perceive my interests as mom/granny things, which just adds to the lame/boring vibe. Also, I am not comfortable being silent and sometimes keep talking for the sake of it. This one gets so boring even my boyfriend admits sometimes he gets sleepy listening to me talk like that. Boring is subjective. What's fun for me is boring to you, so don't come at me and say me playing video games and watching anime is boring, as that's what I like. Sending pics of half their neck and shoulder on Snapchat with no caption every day without actually engaging you in a real conversation. If their identity is rooted in rejecting things they dislike, instead of embracing things they like, it makes a person small, unidimensional and disconnected from the world. Have you ever noticed how, when people communicate their unpopular opinions, it's always something they dislike? Disliking things has become a trend, because by disliking something you risk absolutely nothing. By embracing something unpopular you do, and you actually become an individual. Having a personality built exclusively around weed. I like the experience of it myself, but when all you can talk about are different strains and how it totally cures cancer, then please kill me instead of talking. There's a lot of different types of boring people. The ones that annoy me the most are: 1. The person who has no hobbies or passions. This person is either always just working/studying, but they are not passionate about what they are doing. They just do it. There's a difference between someone who at least loves what they do and someone who just goes along for the ride. Remember Steve Irwin? I bet if that guy was passionate about accounting he could still find a way to be the life of the party. 2. The person who just agrees with everything. This kinda goes along with the above, of not showing any passion towards anything. They just saw a movie? Oh, it was good. No discussion. No thought. Just oh, it was good. They'll say that about Cats and they'll say it about Casablanca. This same person also never speaks up if the conversation goes to something heated like politics, and will rarely stand up for themselves or someone else. I sometimes wish I could prod these people a bit. Wake up. We live in a first world country and y'all walk around like zombies day in and out. Live a little, man. I know this girl whose personality is essentially I only type in caps because it makes me seem crazy, haha xd. Her entire gimmick is that she's insane. Shouts all the time and thinks that gore and murder is cool. I'm aware that it doesn't sound boring to y'all, but after knowing her for almost a decade and it never changing, the whole thing just gets pretty tedious. I don't know how to explain myself, so I'm telling a story. About 4 months ago I started dating a girl of my class. At first, our conversations were normal. Just okay. We were just getting to know each other, and often we were telling each other about things that had happened to us during the week. The conversations quickly became monotonous once we knew each other enough. The only thing we talked about, literally, was how she was doing in his music school and how much stress she had. They demanded a lot but still liked music. So she continued to attend his classes. She didn't have hobbies, favorite books, favorite movies. She didn't have time for any of that. The only thing that defined it was that school. Even her personality was neutral. She wasn't funny, angry, outgoing, just nothing. Don't be this kind of people, please. I'm a boring person, so I'll list a few aspects of myself. 1. Rarely speaks. 2. Doesn't get involved in social hobbies. 3. Doesn't talk about anything outside of video games or any other entertainment. 4. Socially isolated. 5. Accepting the fact that I'll be alone. 6. Unable to make people laugh. 7. Never experienced what most people experience: parties, clubs, sex, etc., and many more. Negative all the time. Non-interactive. Cynical. Just an absolute stick in the mud that can smile. Not able to choose anything in a game of Would You Rather. You know those types. Pizza or pasta. And they'd be like, "Oh, I can't choose between the two." Come on. It's just a game and nothing in your life is literally going to change if you choose goddamn pasta. Little to no contribution in conversation. I have a friend and she's the most boring person I've ever met. It's sad, but she has little to no friends because how little she knows how to act or make conversation. It's mostly cool or okay to everything I say. Last week I purchased a particularly nice 24-piece set of pale blue plastic Tupperware containers. It was financially reckless of me, but they were in a 25% discount sale. Also, it is summer. Can I not let my hair down a bit? I brought the pack home and arranged the containers on the kitchen table in descending size order, using the bubble sort algorithm. It was at this point I discovered to my delight that there must have been a labeling error at the factory. For there were in fact 26 pieces, not 24. I nevertheless felt obliged to check my excitement and call up the manufacturer to warn them of a potentially serious commercial oversight. I spent the next 3 hours carefully labeling each container and placing them inside one another, testing the interplay between each and writing down the best stack combinations, scoring them out of 10. 2 containers, in particular, have a very impressive flush when the smaller is pushed into the larger. I was in fact so impressed by this that I took said containers to work the following day to show my colleagues this particular example of fine plastic manufacturing. But they just weren't that interested. I think it's because they have kids. It's having children that makes a person boring, I am afraid. When you have children you don't have time for Tupperware anymore. Usually if they can't have /be fun without drugs /alcohol /nicotine /caffeine, then they're a boring person. That's not always true, but especially with younger people it is. An inability to have an intellectual conversation. I like debating and discussing advances in science and technology. I find endless gossip or random stories about the day to be boring, especially because I spend all day every day having those kinds of conversations with clients. I have a friend whose behavior is incredibly boring. Repetitive sense of humor. Repetitive conversation topics. Can never admit when he is wrong. And absolutely no drive or determination to do anything that requires a shred of effort. Talking about roads. So, which way did you come to get here? Oh. ERM. I just went where my GPS told me to. So was that the A637 or did you cut through the Schnargle roadway? I don't know. I just don't know. The 637 can be pretty bad with traffic this time of the morning. So you probably loop round the hurdy-gurdy bypass. Leave me alone. For the love of God.